to the computer. All right. So you're listening to Her Gutsy Voice. The thing about creating the Gutsy Voice is when I was working with couples, so many women thought that they had to leave their marriage in order to follow their dream, that somehow they're not able to do both, not able to balance both. And so I wanted to talk to Judith Richey because Judith has balanced both. And I want to thank the people that are listening, taking their time, because if you're in a situation where you have a dream and you are married and you want to know, well, how do I do this? Or can I do this? Perhaps you'll be inspired. So, hi, Judith, how are you?
I'm good, Kimberly. Good to see you today.
Yeah, thanks. Um, so tell us what it is that you do, your business.
Boy, that is a loaded question. And my business keeps evolving and expanding. So, the basic answer that I give people is that I'm a healer. And I love working with women to help them uncover the wounds that they're carrying at the soul level that they may not even be aware of that are keeping them from living the life of their dreams. And I'm going to stop there and let you ask me questions because I got a whole lot more to say about that.
Um, so how much time does it take to run a business for you? What would you say?
Oh, for me, I'm thinking I'm putting in between 20 and 25 hours a week in my business. Yeah.
And do you find that there's any challenges that you have running a business and being married?
So I want to say that there is a before and after to this story. Okay.
Okay.
And so the after, uh, not anymore, and the before, definitely.
So what were the challenges in the before? You're talking about the beginning, right?
Well, let me just kind of tell you the story in a short version. Um, I went through my own healing process in 2008, 2009, not even knowing that I needed to go into a healing process, but I hit a wall and everything was falling apart in my life, my health, my mental health, my body, my marriage, everything except my business. My business was rocking along. I was making multiple six figures and winning trips all over the world and helping a lot of people, and my soul was being sucked dry at the same time. So, how did I get to that place? I got there because I had this false concept that I needed to say yes to what everybody wanted for me in my life instead of really having the awareness of what my soul mission was. And because of that, I said yes when my second husband suggested, when we were dating, that I leave a program I was working on, a master's program, and become a financial advisor with a brokerage company. Because he had been in financial services for a long time and thought, oh, this would be great because there's nobody else doing this in your area and you'll make a lot of money. And when we get married, it'll be our plan A. And, I'll be able to retire easily because you'll be making all this money. And so I did that. And that's what took me to the place where I had my complete and total,
You're
fall apart.
you're saying something that I really important, and that is when women don't know what they want, the people around them, and usually their spouse, will say, "Oh, I think you should do this." And we are in this relationship, and since we don't know what we're doing or we haven't figured it out yet, we accept what they say. But what happens is if we don't listen to our inner voice, like her gutsy voice, which is why I call it that, your gutsy voice, you could get sucked in to a career that you hate doing. And so, how did you then listen to your inner voice that said, I have to do something different?
I just got to a point where I had chronic migraines, chronic insomnia. My whole body hurt. My mental wellness was just horrible in the tank. Our marriage was in the tank. And I just said one day, I have to get off the train. I have to stop this.
So,
And
how did
I
you
did.
how did you communicate to your partner? Here he is telling you this is what you should do. You're going to be making a lot of money, and this is the smart thing to do. And I'm wondering, did he look at you and say, "Oh, Judith, this is stupid. You shouldn't do this."
Well, it kind of happened like this. I called a buddy of mine in the company and said, "Hey, I'm leaving my position." He said, "No, no, don't do that. Call HR and talk to them." And so I arranged to go out on a medical disability for a year. And at the same time, well, so that was going to give me very nice income because I was making a lot of money. And so even on disability, I was still going to make a lot of money. So the money side was handled. The relationship side, I did not want anymore. And so I called a divorce lawyer and went and instigated divorce proceedings for my husband. So I walked in one evening and I said, "I have left my company and I have filed for divorce from you. I want you to leave." And the shoe fell. And yeah, that was how I communicated it. But in all fairness, for about 3 years, I'd been trying to tell him how miserable I was, and he just didn't hear it. It was like the words would go across the table and then drop before they reached his ears. And he just didn't hear me at all.
You're also, this is an incredible interview, by the way, Judith, because you are touching on so many issues that so many women that I've worked with talk about, where they'll say to me, he doesn't listen anymore. I've told him, I've told him, I've told him, I've told him. And in hindsight, would you have told him in a different way? How do you think you could have reached him? Or was
So
he so dense that you couldn't?
it wasn't dense, and this is something I've learned about my husband, which has helped us put our marriage back together again and come forward and have the great marriage that we have today. I learned about him, and he learned about himself from that process.
Hmm.
And what he learned is that he doesn't understand things unless they're presented in an extremely black and white, concrete method. And so it took the 2x4 across his head to get him to realize how serious things were with me. Yeah.
So tell me your 2x4 method.
Well, that was the coming in and saying, "I've left my position and I filed for divorce." And, we went to therapy. I did individual therapy for myself. I did group therapy. He started a men's therapy club. I mean, he started going to a men's therapy group. Um, and we lived apart for 6 months. And he came in after 6 months and offered a lot of amends. And we decided to work on putting our marriage back together. And so that's been a real focus of ours ever since then. Um, we obviously didn't divorce. In fact, in this month, in just a couple of weeks, we're going to celebrate 23 years of marriage. Um,
Oh, congrats.
but it's been a lot of hard work of both of us understanding more things about ourselves and how we communicate and what we want.
Why didn't, when you filed for divorce, what made you then change your mind?
Because he called me one day. Um, and he said, "I want to come talk to you." And so he came to the house, and I said, "If you're going to say what I think you're going to say, you need to get down on your knees and say it to me." So in the middle of the kitchen, he got on his knees and he just told me how much he loved me and how he really wanted to make our marriage work. And he committed to doing whatever it took for us to make things work. And we sat on the kitchen floor for about 3 hours and made a decision together to go forward in our marriage.
So, this podcast is called Her Gutsy Voice. So, how would you agree that what you did was pretty gutsy?
The filing for divorce and leaving my company, I had a reframe on this because I felt for a long time that I did that from a place of failure. And it was coming home from a conference. I was sitting next to a woman on an airplane, and it was the whole, what's your story kind of thing. And I didn't realize she was a therapist when I started telling her my story. And she looked at me, Kimberly, and she said to me, and I'm telling you, this is a pivotal point in my evolution. She looked at me and she said, "What gave you the courage to do that for yourself?" And I had never looked at what I had done from a place of courage and strength. And that changed everything for me. And so, yes, now I see it was a very gutsy move. At the time, I felt like it was the only thing I could do to save myself.
So currently, you're still married, 23
Yes.
years. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Building a great business that feeds your soul and helps a lot of other women.
Thank
So,
you.
so tell me, what kind of rituals do you and your husband do to keep the love alive, to keep the marriage going?
Um, so you're gonna laugh at this one. We play gin rummy every morning at breakfast time.
Okay. Something so simple.
It's really simple. We started it during COVID, and we have played over 1,000 games of gin rummy now. And sometimes
Who wins? Who wins?
I'm 70 games ahead.
Ah, good girl.
But it's just our little reconnection time. We have breakfast together, we play gin rummy, we kind of talk about what's going on during the day. Our offices are on opposite sides of the house. We both get up and walk around during the day and come back and just do a little reconnection. We have lunch together. If he's here, if he's not at a business meeting, we purposely do things to reconnect. Um, we go hiking. We like to go out to eat together. And going out to eat together doesn't mean that we're always talking. We may both have our books with us. We're just sharing space. So we have found things that we both like, and we also give each other space to go do things that one likes that the other doesn't without any hurt feelings. Yeah,
So I want the listeners to know something too, and that artwork, every month you create a new work of art. You go to your studio and you create, and you're not a formally trained artist.
that's
Done
correct.
this yourself. And is that part of your ritual for staying true to you?
It is, and it's interesting because I didn't even know I had this in me. And again, COVID gave me the gift of artwork. It was really cool because I started messing around, and we have a outbuilding on our property, and we had a room that we just had a bunch of stuff stored in, just nothing stuff. And I told my husband, I said, I think I'd like to turn that into an art studio. And so we spent several weekends going out there and cleaning out and getting it prepared. And he helped me put my art studio together. So he is very supportive of
Mm.
my habits and the things that I like. And like he knows my art studio is kind of my sacred space. I've had to train him that that's not a place that he can just walk into. He has to kind of knock or let me know that he's coming out there because I get in the zone and I don't want to be disturbed. And sometimes I just need time away too. And so he's learned how to respect those things for me.
And that's July, correct?
That's July. That's called freedom.
Yes,
Yeah.
it's beautiful. And
Thank you.
you're wearing an outfit that kind of goes with it
I
too.
when we came on camera, I went, "Oh, I matched my painting." So
You're very coordinated. I
I
love
know.
that about you, Judith. Uh, so, I look for and listen for that gutsy voice from women. And not only is it what we do, but it actually is in the sound of our voice. When we have this, I doubt myself, I don't know if I can do it voice, our spouses doubt us too. They want to protect us, they want to keep us from making mistakes, so to speak. So they don't support us. But when we have that voice where we're very clear that we know what we want to do, it's for us. Men do want to make us happy. That's my experience. So I am so thrilled that you had your gutsy voice way back when, that you knew what you wanted and quit your job and told your husband, I filed for divorce, and it became a wake-up call.
Yes, it absolutely did.
Yeah.
Absolutely did. Now, I followed that conversation with 6 months on the couch of crying and praying and reading and doing self-directed healing because back in 2008, 2009, the personal development world wasn't as robust as it is today. And I went to the bookstores looking for resources for what I was going through, and there was nothing for what I was going through, there was so much on how to be an obedient wife, how to be a submissive wife, how to be a Christian wife, how to be this kind of wife, that kind of wife. There wasn't anything about repairing your marriage or being able to find your voice. And so I did this self-directed healing. And part of what I realized, Kimberly, is that so many women have the same story I have, and they don't have anyone helping them find their voice or find that courage to step into their authenticity. So that's why I've really focused on that in my healing practice with women, both women who are entrepreneurs and women who are not entrepreneurs. Yeah.
For sure. I do remember the 60s and the 70s when women felt that they didn't have a voice in their marriage. I remember I wanted to do Mary Kay many, many years ago, and you needed $3,000 to buy the kit. So I had $3,000, but I thought, oh, I need to create good credit. So I went to a bank and I says, I'll give you the $3,000 to put in your bank if you loan me 3,000. And they said that they wouldn't do that unless my husband signed for it. And that was back then, our identity was so tied into uh, who you were married to. And it's now, what, 60, 70 years later, and women still are tied into the identity of I'm a wife, I'm a mother. And this question of, do I have a dream? And some of them don't even dream because
Right.
they don't think they could have it, how to have it. And I'm sure there's people listening to this thinking, well, Judith was really lucky because she had a man who was willing to do it. But you did something that I advise women on should I stay or go? You need to find out how serious your husband is and how committed he is to the marriage. And it's not like a game where you say, well, then I'll divorce you, and then to see what he does. But in some ways, maybe that's the only way we'll ever find out how serious they are. And you were able to find out that he was serious, and telling him to get down on one knee to talk to you was brilliant, because that's the position of, if you want my hand in marriage, that's what you do. If you want me, that's what you do. And some people might say, well, that was a success story. But there's also success stories to say, we did divorce. Not only did I file, but we did divorce. And those are success stories too. So,
I have one of those. I have one of those. We did divorce, and it's a success story. It's funny because my first husband was the next thing to check on the list. It was graduate high school, go to college, get a teaching degree, find a teaching job, get married, have kids. I had done everything up to the get married, have kids part. And I met this man, and oh, okay, well, I'll check the next thing off on the list. Okay. And when I finally got to that place in my healing, I realized that his affair and my having him be the next thing on the list to check off were equally egregious,
hmm,
and that both of us were responsible for the breakup of our marriage, and that neither one of us were true to each other in those instances. And that was a huge healing moment for me. And I wouldn't have the amazing life that I have now if I wouldn't have gone through that divorce. And so the day that I found out he wanted a divorce is February 22nd, and my husband and I go celebrate my Independence Day. We go out to dinner, or we remember that it's my Independence Day on February 22nd every year and celebrate that.
yeah. Again, another moment of being gutsy and having a voice and not regretting. And I think I'm hearing you say that it's the healing process that led me to not regret it.
Yes.
Because so often women fall into that category, like, oh my God, what are people going to think of me? How are we going to handle it? I'm responsible for breaking up this family. And as if I can't ask for what I want, as if I can't have my own voice and my own dream. So, Judith, what advice would you give other women? Because I know you teach other women this, but what advice would you give these listeners?
Ooh, let me think about that for a second, Kimberly. I'm actually working with a couple right now whose marriage is in trouble. And I'm working with both the husband and the wife in their own separate healing journeys. Um, don't wait, run and find someone to work with. It's my first piece of advice. I went through my healing process alone, just me and God. And it was long and hard and arduous. And then I found people to help me in that healing process. And it happened the way it was supposed to happen, right? And there's also people out there who are well equipped to help you move along in that process. So you and I and other people who do this kind of work are here to help women. It's so funny. I do want to say this because you keep talking about having your voice. Um, for many years after all this happened, my husband would say, well, you didn't used to be this way. You used to not talk this way. And I say, yeah, because I didn't have my voice. And now he never makes those comments anymore. Because you can get to a point where you are so aligned with your soul and your purpose for being here and make space for other people to be aligned in their own journeys. And that's a big part of marriage is understanding you have your journey and your spouse, your partner has their journey and you're journeying together and separately at the same time and being comfortable with that happening. And there are times that I feel like I really would love for my husband to come on a little bit more quickly on some of his learnings, but he's going to get his learnings as he gets his learnings, just like I get mine. So I think that grace is really important, is what I would say. Get some help, you know, do some healing and learn how to have space for other people in their journeys.
Good advice. Good
Thank you.
advice. Thank you so much, Judith.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you for having me here.
And thank everybody for taking time, and because I know you can listen to a lot of different podcasts, but taking time to listen and to find out your voice. And I want to hear your stories too. So if you've got a story like Judith's where you found your voice and you either stayed married or you didn't stay married, I would really love to hear it. So I always finish with sending you all the love in the world. Remember to be love. Mwah. Be love, Judith.
You too. Thank you.